Hey everyone, it's time for the fourth devlog of my indie game, the shoot 'em up that I'm coding in Swift using SpriteKit and GameplayKit. The game has continued to move forward and we now have a basic HUD in place. Just like everything else in this game at this stage, the HUD is of course visually very simple, as the coding is what is important for me to focus on right now. The HUD is connected to data that must survive between each level in the game. Things like the number of lives, the player's score, remaining number of smart bombs, and another data property that might be added as we move forward with the game. So when I added the HUD, I also needed to decide upon how to handle this kind of data that can be considered to be sort of global data. I decided to go with the singleton, which is the first singleton so far in this game code. So I have what I call a game data singleton. And this object also keeps a reference to the actual HUD object that is responsible for rendering the HUD to the screen. So by using property observers in the game data, combined with having a reference to the HUD can be updated as soon as any data property changes. Then we have another new component in the entity component system, the animation component. This component is loosely depending on the state machine component that was introduced in my previous devlog. The animation component takes a dictionary with the animation sequences associated with animation states. So when there is a state change, the associated animation will run. I did a quick test in Blender to create this excuse for a spaceship, just to get some animation frames to test the code with. Right now I'm using the sequences I rendered in Blender on the player sprite to test this out. So we have 3 animation states so far: idle, turning left, and turning right, that are given to the animation component, which in turn applies the correct animation as the player's entity moves around on the screen. And finally, I added some initial code to allow the enemies to start firing bullets. In other words, the enemies can now actually attack the player. So each enemy bullet is an entity with the movement component added. And this setup will allow for much more advanced bullet patterns as the game moves forward. The bullets are part of the contact test system that I implemented last time, so the player also registers damage when getting hit by an enemy bullet. Okay, that's all for this time. Coming up for the next devlog, I will start the implementation of multiple enemy types, and I will keep streamlining handling of their movements. So thanks for watching, and I hope you did enjoy this video. I have a blog at code.bitbebop.com where I write more in-depth articles with code examples, so feel free to check that one out. And you can also follow me on Twitter, where I'm at Artstorm. See you next time.